Up to my name season and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to topic 3.6 for AP Comparative Government and Politics, which is forces that impact political participation. So, authoritarian and democratic regimes support similar forms of participation to influence policy making, including casting votes in public elections. They do this for legitimacy, stability, order, maintaining power over their country, and for a safety valve for people to say what they agree or disagree with in the government. So both of these regimes have participation, usually through elections, for those various reasons. However, the two regimes differ in how much impact citizens have on policy and policy making based on how open and competitive elections are. In many elections in authoritarian regimes, there are few, if any, opposing candidates, which are those advocating for different views from those controlling in the government. In many elections in authoritarian regimes, there are few, if any, opposition candidates, which are those advocating different views from that of the controlling party and elite in the government. So, opposition candidates are running for office a little bit less in authoritarian regimes. In China, we don't really have that because there's one party that can be president, the Communist Party. So, there's no competition. China also doesn't have elections, so there's little input and influence of the people on their government. In Mexico, we see evidence of democratic characteristics, as in 2000, the Industrial Revolution Party ended their 71-year streak in the presidential election, losing to the National Action Party. Now, this shows competitive elections because multiple parties are running and have won. In authoritarian regimes, the government often intervenes in these elections to assure that it is preferred candidates and parties who are winning. In Russia, the government has been intervening to make Putin win, a part of the dominant United Russia Party, and this has been proven to be fraudulent. This shows that this authoritarian regime's citizens have lower political influence. Democratic regimes typically have higher influence. The growth of the Reform Party in the United Kingdom has led to the vote for the United Kingdom to leave the European Union in recent years. In Mexico, the Zapatista protests have led to indigenous rights bills with protection and assistance to these indigenous people. Informal political participation, such as protests and political criticism expressed through social media, is treated differently across some regime types. We've already kind of covered this in our past videos, but I'm going to touch on it a little bit more. In authoritarian systems, there is less tolerance of critical viewpoints that may challenge authoritarian regimes. In Iran, after oil prices went up in 2019 and 2020, man, they probably have never seen oil prices as high as they are now. Protests caused the internet to be shut down for 6 whole days. That's 6 days without YouTube. Kind of crazy. In Russia and China, the government censors the media and controls most of it. Those in Russia and China are often punished for what they say on the media. Russia has been known for having tons of desk journalists. Kind of a coincidence, isn't it? Now, this isn't really seen in the United Kingdom, Nigeria, or Mexico as much. Civil society through the media is usually more tolerated and often promoted there. The 2019 G20 London Summit protests were protests over climate change and anger in the economic and banking policies. They were seen as peaceful, and the United Kingdom did not really try to shut them down. The 2008 Tibetan unrest in what country? China, led to arrests, suppressions, and deaths in a region for China where the protests occurred. This shows that authoritarian regimes tolerate mass political protests and movements less than democratic regimes do, valuing public order more than individual liberties and civil rights. They value public order because it gives them what? Legitimacy. Both authoritarian and democratic regimes regulate formal political participation, like elections, by placing restrictions on voting access and disallowing disruptive and violent protests. So if the protests do get disruptive or violent, they will intervene. But authoritarian regimes manage and limit citizen participation to a much greater extent. In Russia, this great extent can be seen as 2012 legislation made large gatherings illegal. However, in the United Kingdom, Mexico, Russia, Iran, and Russia, you must be a certain age to vote. So there is some comparisons here. And the age to vote is usually 18. And you also need other qualifications to vote in that state, like being a citizen, like in the United Kingdom and Mexico. And Russia actually allows universal suffrage when being registered to vote. And that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, this is pretty cool. I like this topic. I like AP Comparative Government Politics. And if you do too, please like and subscribe. It's free. Really does help me out. Link in the description down below. I do have some practice resources that you can use. I think they're really helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.